Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have a male left behind and forward-moving spouse. He has a bomb drop of November 3rd, 2020, and a date of marriage of 2004. His wife is a boomerang who is a high-energy replayer. He says, my ex-wife of about 1.5 years had a short midlife crisis in 2010. That lasted for over a year. She seemed to have pulled through because she became a radical Christian whom I adored and forgave. After her mom's passing in 2020, she showed clear signs of midlife crisis, and it triggered all my memories of what she did and who she had become in 2010. She reunited with the affair down alienator, and married him shortly after our abrupt divorce. Our kids were toddlers back then in 2010. Now that they're teenagers, it's wearing on them how bad of a mom she's become. She's a flake, empty promises. How could she become such a bad mother when she was the most caring mom a kid could have? P.S. She became everything she complained about her mom. That P.S. is really important because that's one of your answers as to why or how could she become such a bad parent. How could she go through this? The assumption, based on if she complained about her mom, and now this is happening, is there's something in that relationship, some trauma or family of origin issues, childhood things. And they often do become that parent that they are estranged from and that they don't like and they complain about. That person sometimes will become their best friend if they're alive. They start hanging out with the people that they said, I would never do that. I don't like that person. Sometimes the alienator is somebody they've known and they did not like even. So the next thing is, you say she had her midlife crisis, and I want to comment about having a midlife crisis and then another one. There is the idea that I put out that if they go into midlife crisis, and I call it being yanked out the front of the tunnel. If they're yanked out the front of the tunnel without going through it, and usually that's early, and early is one it only lasted a year. And then they come out and they haven't gone through and processed and integrated the issues for which they were going in. They didn't fix themselves in there, in other words. They just came out the front. They will go back in later for a much worse crisis. So there's that. And oftentimes, but not always, they are yanked out the tunnel, but therapy isn't done. If that happens, you don't know that it's been yanked out. You just think everything is better now. And there are often rug sweepers in those situations. It's just going to make it worse. Next, you say she became a radical Christian. So let's think about what that entails. Why does somebody, whether, I don't know if she was had faith before, and this was a whole new, and she became Christian and radical. My mom once told me people who convert are, the word isn't stronger in their faith, but more radical. More zealots, radical, that sort of thing. More fundamental, taking things literally as well. It seems stronger, but it's really they're holding on to things and taking everything they say at face value rather than the nuances. So in becoming a radical Christian, one of the things that I would question is why? What was it in that helped her feel safe and comfortable? Oftentimes in the radical movements, I have the answers. There's that, sometimes it's more authoritarian because you are going to be taken care of by me, by God, by this group. And the group is led by God, so it's God will take care of you. And there's a comfort in that. God has the answers. There's a comfort in that. And she was susceptible to needing that comfort. I'm not saying that because of her midlife crisis that she exited from. That could be part of it. But also from any trauma that had left her raw and seeking for a place to be, a place to fit in, seeking for comfort, seeking for answers in a world where she felt she was drowning. Now she has a lifeline. And that lifeline is going to take care of her. So it's not necessarily about loving Jesus. People might say it is, and they believe it is. I'm not saying their intention is that. But if it had been a radical other faith that wasn't Christianity, that might have been what pulled them in. And understand, I'm saying all this as a Lutheran. I'm Christian, okay? I'm not trying to bash on religion and faith. But I do know that when people come in from that raw and vulnerable position of fear, they're looking for something to take care of themselves. I come from a faith where doubt is healthy and where we question it, and we can ask the hard questions without being told you can't ask that because that's heresy. But when you come into some of the more fundamentalist faiths or fundamentalist sects or denominations of a faith, questions aren't accepted. But there's this safety of being taken care of. You feel it's not the comfort that's there, but it's safe because the answers are being given to you. Now she comes up to this new midlife crisis, and the answers aren't there. And it's blown a hole wide open again. And now she doesn't know what is real, and she doesn't feel safe. So she's become a flake. Empty promises. Well, the world isn't a safe place anymore. I don't know what to believe anymore. Or I want to believe all these things, and she'll double down on the strength of it. But it's just not working. There's a war within. And she doesn't know how to handle it because she's in a midlife crisis. And there's a part of her that is screaming for authenticity. But it's not coming through with the I have all the answers and believe in me. And I'm not saying believe in me, that's Jesus, God speaking. I'm saying it's these authorities within a group saying this is how you're supposed to believe, and this is what you're told to believe, and this is what God says. They're telling you it's coming from God maybe, but they're telling you how to believe. And she's trying to believe that. She's wanting to believe that. She's thinking she could, and she's getting strict. And then there's this war inside her going, that's not authentic. That's not me. And she doesn't know what to do with those two personas. And it's causing a crisis again. Okay. Your job, take care of your kids. I know they're confused and they're angry and they want a mom that is functional, healthy, and responsible, and they don't have it right now, but they have you. And so your job is to heal. Your job is to let her go through her crisis. If you try and manage her crisis, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. She came through it last time, but she came back to go in it again. Your job, and she married this other guy this time. Doesn't mean that's going to last. But she has to figure all that out. She figured out that maybe the radical form of faith wasn't for her. She might not know that yet, but it hadn't worked. It didn't work. So she went back to an affair down alienator. It's an affair down. Odds are against it, but you have to take care of your family. You move forward, you thrive, and you pray. And you show her grace. She's got to figure it out for herself, okay? I'm so sorry, but I hope this has helped, and I'll see everybody else in the next question.